Says Society Performer Academy is live. Hey, Joe. Hey guys, my name is Brad Diffley and I'm an agent over at Mavrick Artists Agency and I'm on by myself right now. Joe's in my ear. We were having a technical glitch, but he's with me. Um, Hi, Giovanna, I see you. And Maverick is a full service agency. We specialize in actors and talent of all ages. Uh, we do commercials, TV and film. We do some voiceover, and we also have a fashion and a print arm that we run as well. What we do under the department's called Maverick Agency. I have been almost 25 years. Oh, sorry guys. I bet. Sorry guys. Um, a lot of Zooms, but never with just having somebody talking in my ear. So I've been Joe asked me how long I've been an agent. I've been an agent for just close to 25 years. I'm going to say 23 years, but in the representation business for 25. Yeah. My majority of my career has been with kids. Exactly, exactly. So since moving over, Joe asked me if I've always worked with kids. In the majority of my career, I've worked with kids and teens and young adults. Since, but over at this agency, I've branched off into different age brackets as I've been progressing along at our company, which is 13 years old, but I still my forte has always been the young talent area. Joe asked, what specifically do I like about working in the young talent area as opposed to the adults? And I'm going to say that it's maybe not so much opposed that I prefer working with the young talent instead of adults, but it's kind of it's where my background and my history has been, and it's where I feel very comfortable, and it's fun watching young talent grow and progress, and you can start from just nothing, and I've seen you guys literally grow up and right in front of my face, which is great. And I've seen you through all the ups and the downs of I mean, I've had clients, I mean, that are, that I've seen that I've had since they were born, and seen them grow up and have their own kids, which is really cool, and just and just grow and become stars, or decide to choose and go in other directions with their careers or their lives and their choices. So that's really rewarding in the young talent area, in the young talent and the young artist areas. So Joe asked, how do I scout and find a lot of our new talent? We do a lot of going out to schools and showcases and those sorts of things. We're very active in that community. Acting class is very tied to that arena. We also work a lot with talent managers who we work in conjunction with in repping talent, and we also receive referrals, industry referrals from say acting coaches or casting directors, um, or just people that we know. It's a lot of a lot of referrals come through, and sometimes we find people just on the street periodically as well. So yeah, it doesn't happen as much as it maybe back in the day, but you never know. So Joe asked, where's a good place to start training if you want to get started doing commercials? And I would say get started in commercials doing a improv class. And a lot of it's about realness and believability and literally just coming in off the street type of person and being able to make decisions and change on a dime. So I think that an improv class would be great. And then do a class that specializes in commercials and dialogue for commercials and learn how to interact and have expressions and be able to memorize and work off of a cue card. Um, a lot of commercials aren't going to have, say, maybe a ton of lines, but you need to nail that one or two line and be able to do it over and over and over again, and have believability and realness to the delivery. Hi, Julie. Good to see you too. I would say a lot of it comes down to there's some chemistry, there's ability, and there also comes down to me and the other actor. And Joe asked what makes me want to work with an actor the most. And it basically comes down to chemistry and of between you and I, the actor, and also your abilities and your personality and you know the way the camera gravitates to you for in commercials especially. I mean, there's a job out there for everyone, and I mean just in general there's a job out there for everyone, but commercials, it's all types of people, which is really exciting and really great. And um, and I love that. I love it when I sit down and I get to hear and just to meet you and I get to hear your story and where you're from and what you're about, what your family is about, and what you're into, what sports you're playing. And because what you also bring when you come and you talk to me, you bring when you go into the room. Because every time you go into a commercial audition or an audition just in general, it's about your ability, but it's also about your personality, and you need to be able to deliver that when you go into a casting room, whether it's a commercial, whether it's a TV show, film, whatever. You need to be able to deliver what they're looking for, but also be able to deliver yourself and who you are, because people want to be able to, they're going to want to work with you. Is it going to be cool? Are they going to be cool having on set? Uh, and be able to take direction from me? Is there going to be chemistry? Or do I want to go in and sit on a TV set with them, um, up in Canada for 2, 3 months, So you got to be able to bring yourself to the room and be able to let who you are come through in addition to your abilities um, when you go in. Yeah. Joe's saying don't be robotic. Bring your personality. I'm going to say that we don't have a limit, but we're very specific, and we're very Joe asked, do we have a limit in how many people we take in a category, I guess you could say, or an age bracket. We try to keep it a very manageable number. We don't really per se we have a limit, but we know, we have an idea. I'm not gonna say we know. We have an idea of what sort of activity we're able to create for certain looks or types or age ranges. And so yeah, if we feel like it's not going to be a busy age range, I mean, we're an agency, so we have to have more than one. And if you're on a series, you can't do another series. You're gone. If you book a McDonald's commercial, you can't do a Burger King commercial. So we have to have one or two others to fill that time that slot. But we're not going to have 100. And the business has changed to where I think that the days of having a really large client list just really aren't there to be able to service. So yeah, we try to keep it a really nice, manageable number. And I'm not the one that makes all the decisions. We have a group, we have a team, and the whole team makes a decision. So of whether or not we feel like we could bring somebody in to the department and really do our best to service them. Joe asked if when we look for teens, do we also look for young adults who can play teens? Yes, we do look for also young adults that can play teens as well as teens. And and a lot of that comes down to once you get to certain age, if once you get into the teenage area, they start to want to work hours. It comes down to working the hours that you're working, and or having to hire to school you and those sorts of things. So and if you're over 18, or you can work as a legal 18, which is a whole different conversation, then they will, if that's what they're looking for, then that's going to give you the edge in to 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 be able to possibly secure that job. And that also, if they're shooting somewhere in another country and they don't have the budget, or it's not there to or far away, and it's not there to fly another family member, like a guardian, an adult, then they might hire someone that's older, um, like a young adult, to play a teen role. But sometimes it comes down to maturity too. So it depends on if you want a real true 15-year-old, if you're gonna hire someone that's 22 to play 15 or 16, there's gonna be a different maturity there too. So it really depends on the direction that the the platform that they're using to air, or that TV show, or that film, or even that commercial. So if you're trying to relate to younger kids, they might not relate so much to older. So there's a lot of different variables that come in. But yes, long answer to the short question is we do hire. We do look for older to play younger, because sometimes that's just is what they're looking to hire. So, did I answer? All right. So Joe said we've got a communications graduate, right, Joe? Communications, film studies, and acting too, right? So what sort of internships should you look for upon graduating or while you're in school? And I would say for all those areas, which I was a communications major too, and my concentration was what they called it back when I was in college was a concentration in electronic media industries. So what you want to do is, it sounds like you've got a lot of interests there. So I would, when you can, and have the opportunity to do it, is do different internships in all the different areas that interest you. For example, maybe do an internship at a talent agency, then maybe do an internship at a casting office. You might even be able to get an internship at a production company. Um, you might be able to get an internship at an acting studio, and you might be able to have more than one internship going on at a time. It just depends on your availability and what sort of time and hours you can put into it. When you do get an internship, my recommendation is that you do at least 2 days a week. And the reason is that you're commit to 2 days a week for however long the internship is for. Because then if you start a project, then you can then finish the project, and it gives you. But more than that, it might be a little rough, especially if you're wanting to do another internship or you need to have a job. So, but that's kind of that's my recommendation when you have a lot of different interests in this area in this business is which it sounds like you what was their name again, Joe? Roja has a lot of different interests. Is that test it out, test the waters, and see what you gravitate to. Joe asks if there's any tips for having a great and expressive audition. Comes to being yourself and bringing your realness and your personality into the room. You can't force it. You got once you force it, forget it. It's done. But when you bring yourself and realness, it translates. It translates on camera. So bring that to the room. Can you repeat that question one more time? So if I'm understanding the question correctly, is what he had a parent that asked in a nutshell if they should let the agent and manager do their job, and parent kind of just parent. And I think that yes, that's important. That you need to let your agent and your manager do their job. That's what they're there for, and that's why there's a team that's in place. I think that the parent needs to support their child. I think that they need to, however, also be educated on the business and understand what's going on, because it is also a business, and a kid can't run their own business. They can master their craft, but they need to understand that, and mom and dad need to understand that it is a business, and leave the agenting and the managing up to your team, and just make sure that little Billy or little Sally have it together, and that work permits are in order, and that Coogan accounts are in place. Coogan accounts are in place. If you don't know what that is, Joe can explain it to you. If you're flying and you're shooting something that's out of the country, that passports are up to date or up to speed, and things that we don't always, as an agent, are able to double check and double check and double check. So we do, and we'll do our best to do it, but we're not with you all the time. These are things that you can put on your calendar when expiration dates are happening, and start the renewal process, rather than doing things last minute. So we're a last minute business, and when everybody's all also last minute, and if all of a sudden we call you tomorrow and with a job, and your child doesn't have a work permit, child can't work the job. And it's getting harder and harder and harder to be able to get things last minute. So you need to be able to just keep everything on point and up to speed. So it just makes everything easier. Joe asked that someone has a question about, if we hire talent from outside outside, or we don't hire talent. If we represent talent from, if we accept talent from outside the United States, and yes, we do, but a lot of the talent, unless they'll usually have a team behind them, that will help facilitate all of this. But there's processes that need to go into play, that if you're coming here to book a job that shoots in the States, in the United States, that you're able to work here. So you need to be able to, that comes down to that paperwork and working visas and all those sorts of things, which which you'll need to start to check on getting in place. So Joe's question was dealing with the quarantine and the COVID situation. How is this going to change things in the future as it comes to safety and such? And you know what? I don't know. It's a day by day. It's new all the way around, and we're still figuring that out. So here's being hopeful. I don't have an answer for that question. What you could be doing at home was the question right now when the industry does open back up. Um, and some thoughts on that would be things that I'm doing myself. You can educate yourself on the different shows that are out there. That doesn't mean I want you sitting in front of the TV every day, but educate yourself on the different shows and the different projects that are happening out there, on the different channels. Start researching, or understanding the styles of the different networks and the different TV shows. You can also be practicing scripts. You can be doing, there might be acting classes that you can participate that are happening via Zoom online. You can do coaching sessions that way. You can read books, which is important. You can watch webinars, and I mean, I'm doing do things like this. This is something that you can be doing right now, watching something like we're doing right now. And there's so much of this stuff that's going on in all areas of the world about everything that's happening, that people do. And you just gain knowledge by participating, even if you don't chat. If you don't talk, you just sit there and you listen and you bring it in, and it just brings knowledge to yourself, which when things do open up, you're open back up, you're still ready and prepared to go. And there's still things that are happening. I've Right after I get done with this, I have to fill an audition where they're going to be doing a self tape from home. So, and that's another thing that you can work on too. Is a lot of stuff that's something that's already happening. So here's something that might change as far as safety. Um, as far as safety that might happen after this whole pandemic kind of subsides for all is that more things like these Zoom audition or meetings that are happening these days might start to happen more often. Things were already changing to video, self-tapes, I guess you could say, and self-recording at home as opposed to always getting into the room. So this might even more become the new norm where they're doing more meetings. So learn, which is something I've had to do as well, learn how the different systems work. Learn how to light yourself correctly. Um, and learn different ways to self-tape and to understand that process, because you might have to be starting to do that more often at home as opposed to they might be starting to, because it's going to take it might take a while to where they're going to have a lot of different people sitting in a casting office waiting to get into the room. They might be wanting to do even more, kind of narrowing it down, I'll put it, through taping and taping interviews and those sorts of things, or Zoom interviews, I guess, or is a better way to put it, Skype type interviews and that sort of thing. So that might start to become a little more of the new norm as we move post pandemic, I guess you could say. Most important questions is the question is, what are some of the most important questions you can ask an agent when you're in a meeting? I'm going to say one of the worst, some of the questions we don't want to hear is, do you have somebody that's the same as me? Yeah, we're going to have more than one. I guarantee it. If not, if we don't, we're looking for it. But we're an agency. We're going to have more than one little girl that's 9 years old with brown hair and blue eyes. It's just the way that's going to happen. The other thing is is another thing that, when you're going into a room with an agent, you don't want to sit and talk bad about another agent. We probably know them and they're probably my friend. So you got to keep that aside. They might not, if you already have an agent, maybe the relationship just isn't working. That doesn't mean that they're bad. So you want to keep it as positive as possible when you're going into the meeting. But things that you can ask would be, ideas of how to improve, or keep their ideas of how to progress forward with their craft. You can ask what and understand commission structures for the agency, which they're all standard. So you should research yourself on what those are supposed to be, because they're all going to be standard. And you can understand maybe the style of how your agent likes to work, and you can ask. Some agents like to work on, still use the phone. I'm sort of one of them, and but a lot like to talk to chat on through email. Some might want to chat through text. It just depends. Everybody's got their own style, but you can ask them how often that agent maybe likes you to check in, and just what their expectations are of you moving forward. So should you decide to create a relationship there. Last minute words of advice that I would give to you guys out there, mainly parents and also to kids. And I would say to the parents that it's got to be fun, but it's also a business. So you got to be on time. You got to be prepared. You got to, if you're running late, you got to communicate that. It's communication. You need to keep if you're under stress when you're in the car, it's going to translate over to your child. So you need to be able to learn how to harness that. That and just keep as much up to speed as possible on all of the required documentation, like work permits and those sorts of things. For your child, you need to enjoy the process. There's a beginning and a middle and an end. And there's going to be a lot more beginnings with a lot of rejection before you finally get to the end, which is obviously a booking. So you have to enjoy the process. You got to be excited every time you get an appointment, because appointments aren't easy. They're not easy to get. They're just not just handed to us. So when you get one, you got to take it seriously and go in. And all I can ask from you, from my clients, is that you went into the room and you come out going, you know what? I did the best I could do. And then that's a high five. So you do the best you can do and enjoy it. And when you're not anymore, then that's a time to take a break. And that's okay. All right, guys. Joe's saying we're done. So, so I'm going to wave goodbye. Hopefully you got some good words of wisdom, and good luck. And everybody be safe. All right. Thank you.